Now let's see how to place elements in a grid. So this is called grid placement, how the grid items are placed inside the grid. So by default it has some layout, but you can change that layout. For example, first let's see how the various terminology here. So assume that this part is the grid. Okay, so this part is where the container is present in. So this is called grid container, and we have some items here. These are called grid items. Now one thing you can observe here is there are lines. Okay, so this line, all these lines, these are called as columns. So we have 1 2 3 4 columns for this grid, and similarly it has rows also start from 1 and then till 3. So you have to understand that numbers are starting from 1. So this is row number 1, row number 2, row number 3, column number 1, column number 2, column number 3, column number 4. Now the intersection of a row and column, that is called as a cell. So this is occupying 2 cells, this is occupying 2 cells, this is occupying 2 cells. So each one is a cell, right? And when you cover 2 or more cells, that is called as a track. So this is a track, this is a track, this is a track, right? And so the terminology is, this is the container, grid container, and these are the grid items, and these are the cells, and these are the tracks, and these are the column numbers or columns, and these are the rows. That is what you have to understand. Now using all this knowledge, you can actually place an item at any position that you want. So first let us say we have a container, that is the outermost div, and then we have 3 divs inside it, and all the 3 divs are having only 3 contents. The content is a cowboy picture, an astronaut picture, and a book picture. Okay. Now to the container we are giving height of 100 viewport height, which means out of the total screen it is going to take 100%, 100 viewport. And then display is grid, and then gap is 3 rem. You know what is an rem? 3 rem is between 2 elements, that space is there, right? So this space is 3 rem, this space is 3 rem. That is the meaning of gap. And then we are defining grid template columns, 1 fraction, 1 fraction, 1.5 fraction. It means that there are 3 columns in the grid, and 2 columns are 1 by, so when you have like this, 1 fraction, 1 fraction, 1.5 fraction, if you sum all this, it is 3.5. So first one is taking 1 of 3.5, second one is taking 1 of 3.5, and third one is taking 1.5 of 3.5, right? So this is how each column is taking this space. So that means third column is of higher space. And then rows are 2 rows, and each row is taking 1 fraction, 1 fraction, which means the sizes of 2 rows are equal, 1 and 1. Okay, so which means this is going to take half and this is going to take half. Now when I'm trying to place these items, 3 items in this grid, since we have 3 columns, they will take each column, and the second row will be unoccupied. What I mean to say is, they have taken 3 columns 1 by 1, and the second row is unoccupied. Now if you observe it, the size of this particular book, this item, is more than these 2, because 1, 1 and 1.5 we have given. So that is how automatically this is the layout that we get if we don't do anything. Now let us say we want to change the layout. So we want to, actually these elements are present in the top left corner. All these pictures are present in the top left corner. Now I want them to be in the middle. How are you going to do that? Is we are going to use flex. Okay, so grid is containing flex now. Grid contains 3 items, and each item is a flex, because I have selected item, and item is the class for all the 3 items, grid items. Now I am saying display flex, which means each element is a flex item. Then I am going to give justify content center, which means they will come to the center of the row. And when I say align center, then it will come to the center of the entire space. Okay, these two things. So that is how I got all these photos to be in the center of the elements. Now what I want is, I want the first cowboy picture or the cowboy element to take 2 rows or 2 columns, and then this one will automatically come down. When the cowboy takes 2 columns, there will be no space for the third element, it will come down, right? So cowboy is taking 2 columns and the second item is going to the third column, and automatically book is coming down. Okay, so for that what we can do is, inside we can select cowboy, which means we can select this class which contains cowboy picture, and we are going to give span 2, grid column span 2, which means it will span for 2 columns. So we have selected cowboy and then we have given 2 columns, right? Therefore the second item has gone to third column, and the third item has come down. Okay, and now what we want is, we want astronaut to be at the last position, we want astronaut to come down and the book to go up. So for that we are going to use order. We have already seen order. So whenever order is given as 1, by default all the items have order of 0. When you give order as 1, then that will go to the ending, right? So that is how we got astronaut down, because order is given and all the remaining elements are at the top. Now we want astronaut also to span to 2 columns. So we are selecting astronaut class, here astronaut class, and then we are giving span 2. When we give span 2, then the astronaut is taking 2 columns. Okay, so grid column span 2, right? So columns are 2 now. Now there is one other way. Instead of using column span, row span, you can also give one other way of doing this by giving the numbers of the rows and columns. For example, in this case, this is row number 1, this is row number 2, and this is row number 3, right? Now for this element, it is starting from row number 2 going to row number 3. So that is why row start is 2 and row end is 3. If I give like this, it will span from here to here. And coming to columns, this is column number 1, this is column number 2, this is column number 3, and this is column number 4. Okay, so now you can give column start as 1, which means from here it will start from here, and column end is 3, it will go till here. So this is one other way of specifying the placement. You can give row numbers and column numbers, and you can say that. Now one more shortcut is, so directly you can give 4 numbers like this, grid area. So using grid area, if you write grid area followed by 4 numbers followed by slashes, then the first number is row start. Okay, row start, this value, and the second number is column start, this value, and the third number is row end. Row end means this value, and the column end, which means this value. So you can directly give these numbers without writing like this: row start, column start, row end, column end. You can give all the 4 numbers, right? Now if you want to change this layout to this, then you can change the background color of the book first. So we have changed the color, and then you can say grid row span 2, which means we are spanning to 2 rows. Or there is other way, by using the row numbers and column numbers. By writing like this, it will automatically be the same way. So row start, column start, row end, column end. If you write like this, you will get the same output. And then one more thing is, you can also use -1s. So if you want, the -1s represent the last numbers. Okay, So if the container is having row number 1, row number 2, row number 3, now instead of writing this 3, you can write -1. -1 represents the last row. So here, and similarly, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, then -1 in the column will represent 4. Okay, -1 in the row in this case will represent 3, -1 in the column will represent 4. Okay, so finally this is how you can simplify the code. So instead of writing row column, row span, column span, you can write all these numbers like this. Okay, so here if you observe it, in the color generally there are only 6 digits in the hexadecimal code. Now if you use one more 2 digits, that will actually talk about opaqueness, how transparent it is going to be, opaque, right? So 80 means it has to be 80 opaque. So now the output is going to look like this. Okay, why? Because you have given opaque here. Okay, and also you have said that it should start from, row should start from 1. So which means it is going to start from row 1 and it is going to end at row ending is 3. So 3 means here, which means it should go from 1 to 3, all the rows, and then column 2 means here, and then ending is 4. So now if you observe it, this is overlapping the other elements with a transparent color. That is why you are able to see other elements also. You can also do this. Okay, thank you.